Chapter 738, Dangerous Trap. Drawing a circle around oneself and confining oneself to it was a type of ability related to rules. Zhang Yi learned the rules of this ability through his own experiments. That is, once an object that had been defined as being inside the cage at the beginning of its formation was inside the cage, it could no longer leave the confines of the cage. Objects that had not been defined were not affected by the rules. For example, Zhang Yi and the others could not shoot a bullet through the cage. However, the bullets fired by the pirates outside were not affected, and could even be bounced back. Bai Li Changqing and the others also discovered this law. However, the problem was that they still couldn't figure out how to get out of here. What if the other party stopped attacking and just sat there with them, or changed their method of attack? Cano was thinking the same thing. After seeing Zhang Yi bounce the bullet, he immediately ordered all the pirates to stop shooting. They stopped, but Zhang Yi would not. A mischievous smile appeared on Zhang Yi's face as he scanned the scene with his eyes. The foreigner who had used his supernatural powers to surround them must be among them. If they killed that foreigner, the source of power for this prison would also disappear immediately. Make some room for me. On the count of 3, everyone crouched down. The others didn't understand what Zhang Yi wanted to do, but Zhang Yi was the team leader, so they had to obey his orders. 1. Zhang Yi opened his own dimensional gate. 2. Within the dimensional gate, the barrels of thick cannons appeared. 3. Everyone immediately crouched down. And around Zhang Yi, in the vast space, the muzzles of 500 cannons suddenly extended out from another dimension. These were the large quantities of weapons that Zhang Yi, as the leader of the Tengvu squad, had requested from Blizzard City using his own authority. Weapons that were bulky and difficult to carry for ordinary aliens. Weapons that had great power, but were slowly being phased out due to the coming Ice Age. In his hands, they were still powerful. The 500 cannons had long been loaded with shells by Zhang Yi and were ready to be fired at any time. Modern weapons can be connected to intelligent systems and do not require manual operation. Zhang Yi simply used the intelligent operating system of his combat suit to give the order, and in an instant, the 500 cannons let out a deafening roar, targeting and firing at all the pirates in all directions. No one could have imagined such a scene. One person could suddenly turn into a giant fort. The pirates were overconfident and therefore were less than 200 meters away from the cage where Zhang Yi and the others were. A salvo of 500 cannons was like firecrackers exploding, scattering the pirates in all directions. However, what was scattered all over the place were their broken bodies, really like fireworks, colorful. As soon as the cannons appeared, the aliens such as Cano had already reacted. Cano's body quickly grew huge, and his clothes were torn by his bulging skin. His skin began to turn grayish-blue, the texture of his skin was like a knife, and his mouth corners reached the back of his ears. In an instant, he turned into a grayish-blue giant shark over 10 meters long. The huge body lay across the ground, but it was as agile as if it were underwater. His agile body swept away dozens of cannonballs, saving the lives of hundreds of pirates behind him. In various other directions, other aliens were also exerting their strength. Even so, they could not stop the instantaneous barrage of 500 shells. In the blink of an eye, more than half of the 1,000 pirates in the 4th squad were killed. Zhang Yi sighed inwardly. This kind of barrage could only be used once. Because he did not have time to reload the 500 cannons a second time. However, the effect of this attack was already very considerable. It also verified his conjecture. That is, the objects in his otherworldly space are not defined by the rule of drawing a circle and calling it a prison. Bai Li Changqing and the others watched Zhang Yi put away the 500 cannons. At this point, Bai Li Changqing finally understood why Zhang Yi had asked for so many seemingly useless heavy firearms in the first place. Yi He and the others looked at Zhang Yi and admiration also appeared in their eyes. He was worthy of being their captain, and he had thought of a way to counter the opponent's abilities so quickly. Cano looked at his subordinates, who had been reduced to pieces, and listened to their painful wails. It looked at Zhang Yi with unbridled rage. Damn you, I must kill you. Half of its huge body was immersed in the soil. Strangely, the ice and snow and soil did not pose any obstacle to it. Whatever encountered his body rippled like water. Cano stared fixedly at Zhang Yi and the others in the cage. He wanted to attack immediately and kill Zhang Yi and the others. However, upon thinking of the abilities Zhang Yi possessed, he did not attack recklessly. Zhang Yi's different space could absorb almost any attack and then rebound it back. Anger would not bring him victory, but would instead make him make more mistakes. Zhang Yi was also pondering how to break out of this prison. Just now, I killed so many pirates, but the cage is still here. In other words, the caster was not killed at all. Zhang Yi's gaze fell on Cano's huge body. That stranger must be protected by him. Although he could not escape from the cage for the time being, Zhang Yi was relatively confident. The opponent could not do anything to them. But at this moment, a message prompt from Gao Changkong appeared on the tactical eyepiece. Chaos, bad news. The situation has changed. You must not rush to surround and attack the pirates. This could very well be a huge trap. Zhang Yi's pupils suddenly contracted, and a chill ran down his spine. What do you mean? Linhai City. Gao Changkong and the members of the reincarnation squad stood in the middle of a pile of ruins. In front of them, there were a dozen corpses lying on the ground. Some of them were dressed exactly like the Eclipse troops. The ones that appeared in Linhai City were not the real Eclipse troops at all. We've all been fooled by them. Gao Changkong's voice kept coming to Zhang Yi's ears. Think about it, if they didn't appear in Linhai City, where else could they appear? Who is the person they fear the most and want to kill the most? Zhang Yi's eyes widened, and an ominous feeling had already enveloped him. His scalp even felt a little numb. The person the Eclipse Moon most wanted to kill was naturally the one who could decipher Takeuchi Mayumi's prophetic abilities. Cano cracked open the shark's huge mouth and roared, Ronin! Are you not going to show yourselves? Zhang Yi looked up into the distance and saw the faces of a few old acquaintances revealed on top of a low mountain. Phoenix Courtran, along with all of his Eclipse Moon aliens, were there. Chapter 739, The Hunt. Instead of heading to Linhai City, the Eclipse Moon aliens appeared in Tianhai City, right in front of Zhang Yi and the others. This scene directly shocked the entire Blizzard City hierarchy. Inside the Operations Command Center, Zhu Zheng and the others, who had previously been complacent, thinking that the situation was under control, were all a little panicked. How could this happen? Zhu Zheng stood up straight from his chair and his fierce gaze swept over everyone at the scene. Our action plan is absolutely confidential, and the plan to split the troops has not been disclosed to the outside world. But why were they able to know that Zhang Yi's Tengu squad was in Tianhai City? This mission was top secret, and apart from the three teams, the only people who knew the information were these people in the command center. It was almost certain that there must be a mole leaking information. Lan Xincheng's eyes looked towards an area, which was the intelligence team responsible for communicating with the Tengu squad. Lan Xincheng strode over there with a cold face. He arrived at the person in charge, Lin Katie. What the hell is going on? Why has the information been leaked? Lin Katie was a woman in her 30s. She had her hair tied up in a meticulous bun, and she looked dignified and elegant. Even when facing Lan Xincheng's questioning, she wore a composed smile on her face. But as she continued to smile, her face turned pale. A strain of blood trickled down the corner of her mouth, and she collapsed to the ground in an instant. There was a gasp of surprise around her. Lan Xincheng carefully opened her mouth and said helplessly to Zhu Zheng, she had already taken a cyanide capsule in her mouth, and has now committed suicide to avoid punishment. The situation was already very clear. Someone from the inside had indeed leaked information to Eclipse Moon. Zhu Zheng just couldn't understand why someone would want to be a traitor even if it meant death. What was the point of all this? But at the moment, Zhu Zheng had no time to investigate those things, because Zhang Yi was currently facing a very great crisis. Eclipse Moon and the Tianlong pirates had joined forces and set up a huge trap to hunt them down. Can the reincarnation squad get over there to provide support? Lan Xincheng replied, they are in Linhai City. It will take at least half an hour to get there. The battle has already started on Tu Yunlia's side, so they cannot support us either. Zhu Jing gritted his teeth and said to Zhang Yi, try to buy some time. I will send the reincarnation squad to support you immediately. Zhang Yi's eyes were cold. He realized that there was something fishy going on. After all was said and done, he had still moved someone's cake, so much so that they wanted him dead. But it wasn't that easy to kill him. Zhang Yi didn't trust anyone anymore, including Zhu Jing. So he cut off the communication with headquarters directly. This abrupt action made Zhu Jing flinch, but he was not qualified to be angry with what others had done. There was actually a moon eclipse spy inside his self-proclaimed impregnable blizzard city. This was his responsibility as a commander. Even if Zhang Yi suspected him, that was reasonable. After Zhang Yi cut off the call, he immediately said to everyone around him, an undercover of Eclipse Moon has appeared in the headquarters. From now on, everything is under my command, and do not contact the headquarters again. The current situation was very clear. This was a trap, waiting for Zhang Yi and the others to fall into. They could not trust anyone at the moment, and could only trust their own strength. Gao Changkong continued to say to Zhang Yi, we'll be there soon, so hang in there for a bit longer. Don't do anything stupid. Zhang Yi didn't say anything, and he cut off Gao Changkong's communication as well. He couldn't tell who was who anymore. Anyway, he would just have to win this fight first. Phoenix Courtran stood on a small hill and lit a cigarette for himself. Let's get started. With Eclipse Moon joining forces with the Tenryu pirates, such a powerful force absolutely had the potential to eliminate an investigation team. What's more, the Tengu squad was also recognized as the weakest investigation team in terms of combat effectiveness. Team leader Zhang Yi had an officially given supernatural ability index rating of only 8,200 points. Even the team itself was put together on a makeshift basis. From Blizzard City's side, Zhu Jing had ordered Lan Xincheng to investigate whether there were any more internal spies in the city, while also ordering the reincarnation squad to quickly head to Tianhai City for support. What could he do now? Nothing. He couldn't use missiles or the Love Reaper to attack indiscriminately, because Zhang Yi and the others were there too. He could only watch quietly, hoping that Zhang Yi could hold out until the reincarnation squad arrived to rescue them. Meanwhile, on the battlefield, the Eclipse Moon and the Tenryu pirates had already begun their attack. The first person to strike was Shingoji Saikairo. He took out 10 talismans from his pocket, scattered them into the air, and then formed a seal with his right hand. I command the gods, all the Buddhas. Heavenly body granted, hurry as ordered. 10 white talismans rose up in the air, surrounded by a layer of white smoke, and then turned into 10 black hounds. This was a type of Shikigami that Zhang Yi had never seen before. They were as dark as ink, giving off an evil and terrifying feeling. The 10 demon dogs roared and pounced towards Zhang Yi. Although Zhang Yi did not know what their abilities were, as long as he opened the dimensional gate, all their attacks would turn out to be false. In the blink of an eye, all 10 black demon dogs were absorbed by Zhang Yi into a different space. But at this moment, Zhang Yi saw the corner of Shinji Sujiro's mouth raised. Different dimensional space. It can absorb everything, but there is a limit to the amount it can hold. Just pour in more energy than the limit and it will collapse. He brought his right hand together with his middle and index fingers, placed them by his mouth, and shouted in a deep voice, "Destroy!" Zhang Yi felt that in his own different dimension, the 10 demon dogs suddenly exploded violently as if they had sensed something. This was the Shikigami that Shinjioji Saikairo had specially created to deal with Zhang Yi's ability in the different space, the self-destructing demon dogs. Zhang Yi was also moved when he sensed the explosion in the different space. Because the energy contained in these demon dogs was terrifying. At the same time, he also realized one thing: his information had also been completely told to the people of Eclipse Moon by the mole. This was a hunt against him. It was just like the previous hunt against Deng Shintong. Someone wanted Deng Shintong to disappear from Jiangnan district first. And someone also wanted Zhang Yi to disappear from Jiangnan district. Zhang Yi's gaze was exceptionally cold, even colder than the ice and snow between heaven and earth at this moment. However, after Shinji used the self-destructing devil dog with full confidence, he discovered that Zhang Yi was not affected in any way. He took a few surprised steps back. How is this possible? The explosive charm I used had the equivalent of 2 tons of TNT. Even a captain-level character would choose to avoid a self-destructing demon dog of this power, and would not dare to prove its sharpness. Could it be that the information was wrong? A rare drop of sweat appeared on Shinguji Saikairo's forehead. This kind of thing exceeded his expectations, and the fact that he was not in control of the situation made his heart begin to panic.